What is up, engine heads? Welcome to the second ever premiere in, I think, 9 years of existence of this channel. 10 years is close, but I think not there yet. In 9 years of this channel, if you remember the first ever premiere, then I love you very, very much. Now, this premiere thing, you're probably noticing the same setup from the last jet engine video, and that's because this is a sort of a two-segment video. In the first segment, I want to correct some of the incorrect stuff as well as potentially misleading stuff from my previous jet engine video. Overall, the fundamental operating principle that was explained is correct. However, there are some things that need to be corrected because they're not ideal. So we're going to do that first, and then in the second part of the video, I'd like to discuss that's the reason why the video is a premiere. I'd like to discuss with you live some of the things that I'm currently having some doubts about that I want to do and plan to do, and I would really, really like to see your opinions, feedback, thoughts, whatever on these things. So that's what we'll be talking about in the larger major part of the video. But first, let's fix the jet engine. The biggest, most painful and unforgivable mistake is this orientation of the incorrect orientation of the turbine wheel. As you can see, it is painfully obvious this thing is flipped the wrong way. I mean, even if you don't know anything about anything, you can see that the turbine wheel has little scooped sections, and obviously the scoop should be what the air is hitting in order to turn the turbine wheel. The previous video, I'm not really trying to defend myself because there's no defense for this, but the previous video was really intensive in terms of how many different things had to be done. I went to locations, I had to make this setup, I had to think about what to say because as you know, the whole channel is a one-man show. There's nobody else doing anything. So I'm not really that familiar with jet engines, and I did underestimate them, I think, because I, just went ahead. I know how this works. That's usually not smart because I really don't have actual hands-on experience with jet engines. Not many people do, as I do with reciprocating piston engines. So let's fix this. Give me a few seconds. There we go, that's better. Air goes this way. You can see there's a scoop. Look, everything still works. Ugh. Okay, so that's fixed. Turbine oriented properly, but I have realized why I installed it incorrectly because it's really not meant to be installed properly. It's improper in the instructions, so I will be removing the links to this engine from the jet engine video until Engine DIY fixes the instructions. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which I have said in the video, which is, I think, just incorrect, is the way I stated things about the compressor section. And I made it sound as though the reducing space in the compressor section, that because the stators and the rotors, because they push the air into this reducing space, this increases the pressure. That's incorrect because what actually happens is that the action of the stators and the rotors is reducing the volume of the air, but it's increasing the pressure. And then the reducing space in the compressor section is just a reflection of the actions of the stator and the rotor. They are reducing the volume and increasing the pressure, and this is why the blade sizes are decreasing as we go along the stages of the compressors. So I hope that makes a bit more sense now. It sort of sounds the same thing, but it's not the same thing because the whole concept of the jet engine is we're constantly dealing with changing the volume and the pressure. And I know some people said, and I know it's referred to as a constant volume engine, no, a constant pressure, different velocity engine, the jet engine. But I really don't like the constant pressure thing because it makes you think that like pressure is the same everywhere in the engine, which it's not. I know you're gonna say it is, but I think it's really confusing because, for example, air comes in at whatever is the pressure of the outside air at cruising altitude. That's going to be what? 4, 5 psi, and then it's going to be like a lot more psi here. So saying constant pressure is sort of weird. So that's the compressor section part. And the final thing is, which I don't think is totally incorrect, because I was explaining something that I maybe didn't highlight enough what I was explaining, and that's when I said that in the combustion section, pressure increases. What I was explaining was the starting sequence of the engine. This is important because this is why I mentioned the sparking, and I got a lot of comments, people saying, no, it doesn't spark all the time. Of course, it doesn't spark all the time. I thought that was self-explanatory, that the engine doesn't spark all the time, because a system that has to spark, constantly hold a spark, is, I think, would be unreliable and not to last long enough, not nearly long enough for something that has to fly up in the air. So I was explaining the starting sequence, and I said that when the spark ignites the air-fuel mixture, pressure and temperature dramatically increases, and all of this, I don't know if I said dramatically or not, doesn't matter. I often say dramatically, but I want to emphasize something. Then I showed this picture where you can see that I'm constantly trying to show the gases going towards the turbine. Basically, I was explaining the whole thing. This is why it's called juxtaposed. I love that word. It's like comparing something against something, but for the sake of emphasizing certain features of the other something. So to highlight stuff, you put, I don't know, a black and white picture and then something colorful in it. I think that would be a nice example of juxtaposing, is you're using the other thing that you're comparing against the main thing to highlight features of the main thing. Probably just made it even more confusing. And the turbine was the central thing, how I explained it, and I'm juxtaposing with a piston engine because I use the turbine sort of as my piston, in the explanation, and I hope that would click with many people, because this is a reciprocating piston, largely centered channel. What I was trying to say is that when the air and fuel mixture combusts, we have an increase in pressure acting on the turbine. If you don't want to use the word pressure, then we can say we have more force now going to the turbine. This is why we combust the air fuel mixture. If there was no additional force on the turbine, pressure, whatever, from the combustion, we wouldn't have to do the combustion at all. And also, I got a lot of comments, people saying that if pressure increases in the combustion section, then the gases would go out through the compressors. No. Even if pressure in the combustion section, this is what is the misleading part of my explanation, that pressure in the combustion section cannot increase the pressure in the compressor section. I never said it could, but you could be led to believe that happens based on my explanation, which is why this part is a bit misleading. However, even if pressure in the combustion section would increase beyond pressure in the compressor section, gases would not go out through the front of the engine, because gases and fluids and many things on planet Earth, they follow the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is that way. Everything falls that way. So even if when we combust the air-fuel mixture, even if pressure increases momentarily, locally, that pressure is not going to go that way, because everything flows that way. The pressure is acting on the turbine. The increased, if you really don't like the word pressure, as to not oppose the literature, we can see that the force acts on the turbine, increases due to combustion. This is why we have to do combustion, to increase also the torque that is going to be produced by the turbine. This is how turboshaft engines work. So yeah, I think that covers the issues with the jet engine. It is important to note that the key thing is velocity. It's not pressure, because the combustion section is not contained. There's no piston that contains the combustion, so it has nowhere to go. In a jet engine, combustion always has somewhere to go. It always has a place where to expand. This is why pressure does not increase above the pressure in the compression section, but locally, momentarily, when we combust it at the starting sequence, it does, and this then acts on the turbine. However, it is incorrect in a way to say that it increases the way I said it, without a more detailed, more in-depth explanation of what I was trying to say. So I hope this fixes everything. I do want to say a big thank you to the knowledgeable, to the creative, constructive criticism that exists in the audience of this channel. I am truly, I don't say this enough, but I'm truly grateful, because there is the vast majority of the audience on this channel is really amazing, and people often tell me how my videos help them learn. But over the years, I feel that I have learned a lot from the people in the comment section, and there's a lot of really, not to say nice stuff, but stuff that I didn't know about, didn't hear about previously, different perspectives, a lot of really nice stuff, and I'm grateful to the kind of audience we have built here. Of course, there is a certain, fortunately minor percentage of people who do come here to insult and hate and do other nasty things. For them, I do have something between my index and my ring finger, but I'm not going to show it. So yeah, that's the jet engine. Now, let us move on to the reason why this video is a premiere, and this is now going to be extremely boring. You have engines behind me. I'm so used to giving graphics that I feel like guilty when there's no graphics, but there's not going to be graphics. Now, what I want to talk about is, look, I have the politician's hands. Maybe I should do one of those Scotty Kilmer videos now. It's over. I'm not doing YouTube anymore, you know, get the views. No, that's not what this is about. But what I do want to talk about is that I feel trapped. And I feel trapped because the channel has, in a way, become bigger than me. And this is preventing me from experimenting with content, from doing certain kinds of different content and exploring different topics. And if I can't do that, then I feel trapped, and I can't express creativity the way I want, and I can't talk about everything the way I want, because although I initially felt that I could publish whatever I want on this channel, talk about whatever I want, and some of you who have been here for a very long time, again, I love you. There's nothing I appreciate more than this length of being around with the channel, because it's like coming back to the same channel for years. I mean, there's nothing that feeds my motivation more than that. It's because things get bored, everything, you get bored of cars, bikes, people, everything changes, but the fact that somebody keeps coming back is, I don't know how to express my appreciation for that, for keep coming back for many years. And some of you who know the channel for a long time know that there is, in the depths of this channel now, that's way back, there is a weird person, a bit of an idiot. I don't know whatever you want to call it, because I do like to have fun sometimes, and be laid back and experiment and do weird things and all sorts of stuff. And I feel that although I initially thought that I could do whatever I want on this channel, I think that that is incorrect and unfair. It is unfair because when you go to, I don't know, McDonald's, you expect a certain kind of burger. And if you go to McDonald's and they tell you, now we're going to serve you this McFajita, and that's not what you want. And that's in a way what this channel is also, this channel is that people come expecting a certain kind of content. And I do love, and I still love, and I'll probably love for a very long time producing this kind of content, because it is something I'm passionate about: engines and engineering and cars and bikes and vehicular dynamics and everything else we talk about here. But if I constantly have to do just that, I feel like eventually things will start taking a turn for the worse if I can't also do what I want to do. I'm making this very long-winded, but I'll get to the point. And you can notice this, you might notice this from the videos that I published sometimes. I want to explore different topics: social, political, philosophical, economic. I want to talk about these things from time to time. And this came about as the greenwashing video that I did. I want to do riding content. Recently, most of my free time that I can grab, I have been using to ride off-road. with my CRF 300L Honda, and riding this sort of, people call it adventure riding, has been one of the greatest revelations of my life, and I really want to share this. And you might have noticed this, I'm trying to express it through my shorts a bit, but all of this is sort of a compromise. So my initial idea, there's two ideas that I have, and this is where the feedback comes in. And I have no idea how to put this into practice, but I have to put it into practice. Otherwise, I won't like what I'm doing, and then content quality will suffer. And I want to keep things as they are. If there's no love and passion when you do something, then that something will inevitably eventually fail. I will not take this channel in a different direction. I will not try to turn this into some video making, every video is sponsored machine. I do not want to do that because I would hate doing that. I can afford to not do sponsored videos because it's just me. There's not a team of people that I have to pay. And if that changed, then I would have to do different content, and I think I would just, like downhill very fast. Not gonna happen. So my initial idea was to open up memberships on this channel and do motorcycle riding content, which would be a platform to talk about whatever and do all sorts of weird stuff, different kinds of videos, more personal, experimental, laid back. It's like we're hanging out. The kind of content that I sometimes really want to do is like relax. I don't care if it's the best thumbnail. I don't care if it's coherent. I don't care if it's organized. Just make stuff that, like, be creative. And I wanted to make like memberships and give this content to the members. But the more I think about this, the more I don't like it, because I want to share this content with everybody who wants to view it. And putting the content behind a paywall does create for me a sort of safety net that I can be totally crazy and not many people will see the content. But at the same time, I feel like it's a sort of discrimination between paid viewers and non-paid viewers, putting things behind a paywall. You can probably hear the rain. I don't know if it's ruining the audio. It is absolutely massive rain today. And I don't want to do the paywall thing. Then my other idea, what I started to think is that, and what I have learned recently from that, is that making little sub-channels is a good idea. Recently, I have made a my videos dubbed in Spanish sub-channel. I initially released a video in Spanish on this channel. There was incredible negative feedback, the greatest negative feedback I have ever experienced in all of my years on YouTube. Like absolute, like great from some people. I was dumbstruck, because I personally like seeing different, weird, unexpected things being published from channels that I know that I watch. And when I do something weird, I'm super happy. But I almost always notice that I'm in the minority and that most people are not happy. And then you see people just, stepping back from that action, going back to the same way they used to. So then and my Spanish sub-channel, why I'm mentioning it, I'm really sorry, this is all completely unscripted. My Spanish channel has been a little success. It already has, I think, around 6,000 subscribers. And I'm serving the content to the people that want to see it. And my wife told me this, and she was right. She says, put yourself in the shoes of, this is why I think I was egoistic. Put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's subscribed to your channel and gets a notification. And out there pops up a video in Spanish. And they're like, this is not why I'm subscribed. And they're gonna swipe away. You do another Spanish video or something totally weird, then they're gonna say, this is not what I asked for, and they're gonna leave. And that's okay, but eventually you create a confusing entity, a channel that nobody knows what it is about. I thought it's okay because I kind of like that when things are random, but I have to be understanding and respectful of the fact that most people don't like that. And that's why I won't be doing things in that way, because this is not just about me. So, sub-channel is then my second idea. And to do the sub-channel would be, I have no idea how to call it. I want feedback on that. It would be mostly about off-road riding, and then the off-road riding would be sort of a backdrop for a background for talking about whatever and doing whatever and experimenting with content and talking about all sorts of issues and being a bit more personal and being a bit more open and being a bit more opinionated, being a bit more human, as in contrast to a talking face next to something. Which I love doing this. I love doing educational content, informative content. We'll always do it, but there has to be a little vent for me. And so I thought about I will do this as a sub-channel, and when I have free time, I will do funky stuff. This will then re-energize me to do this content, to keep doing this content, which I will then keep enjoying even more because there's a change in pace, a change in, doing things, because if I'm McDonald's and if I'm flipping the same burger all the time, you eventually go crazy. Even if it's the best burger in the world, you go crazy because you know how people are in a factory and then they change them around after a few months. You were cutting the fish. Now you're going to be putting the fish in a box. And, it's nice. Oh, this is different. So that's what I'm basically trying to talk about. So writing content sub-channel, which would be like sort of a writing. I was named Writing for Answers. I was also thinking about calling it Writing for Answers probably makes the most sense. But I was thinking about calling it stuff like The Vent or D4A Unfiltered or D4A Raw, which sounds kind of dirty. No. Ideas, very much welcome. Probably Writing for Answers makes the most sense, but we'll see. So we're going to do that sub-channel. It will not be centered on creating the most the most algorithm-friendly content. That's how we're going to call it. It'll be centered around creating, for the freedom of creating content, and I hope, it's going to be fun. I just feel like I need to do this. It has to be done. I really enjoy writing, and I really want to put it out there. And then for the memberships, what I was thinking about, first of all, I want to see if people are interested in me doing memberships at all. I do get sometimes comments, people asking, why can't I join? I never started it because I sort of felt I do have Patreon, so I kept that. That has been always there. And on Patreon, I give early access to my videos. I give some sort of, often I write like a bit more personal posts. There's behind the scenes, there have been some bloopers, so stuff like that. I'm thinking about if people are interested to offer this on YouTube as well. People are talking about, so I did ask this once, I think, and people said, YouTube takes a larger cut than Patreon, which is true. However, in the background of that, there are complications with money from Patreon as well, and taxing and stuff like that, so it's not really all that different. With YouTube, it turns out to be a bulk sum, and at the end of the day, it's when all the taxes are done, I think YouTube is still less money, but it's not that less. And it simplifies things, I think, for creators. I feel like it might be like that for me. Patreon is still going to be there. It's still going to be doing the same thing. People with memberships at Patreon will probably get access to largely the same things. The benefit of memberships is that you're there and you're getting, it's on the same platform, and you're getting some YouTube specific stuff. I know you can get like custom emojis, avatars, stuff like that. It's kind of fun. You're building a little community around the channel, which I think is interesting. So would people be interested in memberships, support the channel? I assume some people yes, some people no. I want to ask about pricing. What makes sense? On my Patreon, it was like $1 for the most basic tier. Then it was, I think, $6 for the second tier, and $10 for the tier that gets you in the description of my videos mentioned. I think I would, for the time in memberships, just do 2 tiers, like $1.99 and maybe $5.99. And the basic tier would get the custom avatar thing, custom thing. I don't know how to call that. And then the larger tier would get access to early access on both this channel videos and on the Writing the Nut Job channel. We would get voting on videos, because I always have a list of topics and often I'm not unsure what to do next. So that'll be really help me as well, and it'll be probably fun for viewers to vote on what we're going to talk, what's going to be the next video on the main channel. There will be no voting on the Writing for Answers channel. That's going to be like just stuff. So there's going to be that voting. There's going to be behind the scenes stuff, bloopers, stuff like that. $5.99. Let me know if that makes sense, if you're interested, if I should start it. And basically that's it. Also, if the secondary sub-channel is a good idea, full disclosure, a part of me doesn't even care if it's a good idea. Because that's sort of what I'm trying to say is that, I don't know how to put it in words. It's like freedom. Yeah. So the premiere is probably still going on. I'm there with you as well. This feels so weird saying how it's like a time machine, saying how I'm gonna be there with you watching this in the future, and we'll be able to comment and talk in the chat at the same time. I really haven't done. There might be in the memberships, I might do a live stream from time to time. I'm thinking about like live streaming, riding on the bike, although I have no idea if that is safe. Like the messages, if I even can, like I have an old GoPro, can that live stream? That's why I researched it a bit, but I suck in the technology department. Like, how can I, while writing, am I able to see what people are writing during the live stream, and then also live stream on this video screen where I'm actually going? I thought that might be fun, but now that I think about it, it sounds unsafe. But we might do different live streams, like Q&A sessions, talk about stuff. So should I stop talking now? I don't know if once I stop talking, once the video is over, can we still keep chatting in the thing on the side? Because my only premiere was 5 years ago, 6. I have no idea how that goes. Maybe I should just take this engine like here and let it just like play, let it run, and then we can chat. I think we can keep chatting if I stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking now.